students come to us, they should be able to read reviews, they should get insights on colleges and courses which they would use for research. Online education, as you know, picked up very well in COVID. Even those who were doing offline courses were studying online. We were very surprised actually. We did a survey in 2021. We did a survey in 2023. We were expecting in 2023 survey that the online courses preference would have come down. We did not see that shift, which is very surprising. So people still prefer online courses. But what we saw was a shift towards a stronger brand. So people want courses from a good brand. When we have a student visit us, are we serving all the needs that the student has? How do we serve them better? Because their needs are different. Are we delivering what the promise we make to our audience? Do we have something which stands out, which is unique? Active community where they can come and ask questions, and then we have community of students who answer these questions. We knew there were benefits. For example, we were getting about 65%, 70% positive feedback from students. And then Shiksha GPT, when we have gone beta, we are actually now getting 90% positive. So that jump from 65% to 90% is obviously awesome.
Yeah.
But still, question is, what can we do more?
Sir, you have a diverse career from ICICI to IBM to Adobe to Naukri and now Shiksha. What has been a most pivotal moment in your career that shaped your approach to leadership?
So I started my career in ICICI Securities as an analyst in equities, and for almost 3 to 4 years I looked at multiple industries, whether this was chemicals, petrochemicals, paints, metals, pharmaceuticals, and so on. But by year 2000, I was very excited about technology and then wanted to shift to something very close to tech space. And that's when this opportunity from IBM came. And IBM was a very different kind of opportunity, but it was very interesting because it gave me exposure on the e-commerce space. IBM was building a WebSphere Commerce Suite kind of product, a WebSphere Commerce product. So that was one opportunity where I focused. And that's when we actually get a lot of exposure to new emerging technologies. IBM was very big in data mining and AI. So that was one of my learning grounds where I learned a lot. And then within IBM, I shifted to a new unit which was focused on commercialization of new technologies. That was also very interesting. Lots of exposure on new technologies, and some of the challenges of taking new products to market is which I faced firsthand, and some of those learnings have really helped me. So I would say this move to IBM was really very pivotal. From there on, obviously, I moved to product management in Adobe and then to Naukri and Shiksha. Those were more incremental on top of what I've done in the past, and then sort of moved on. But I would still say my shift from ICICI to IBM was really the most pivotal. Very hard. I struggled for maybe about 6 months getting to learn so much, because there was so much to learn from, because I was moving from a very different space to a technology.
That was an industry shift, I guess.
And this was like hardcore tech. It was not really just application development. It was, and there you had masters and PhDs and people with very immense skill and experience. So it was a lot of learning and a lot of growth from that perspective.
So looking back at your career, if you had one chance, which was the product launch that you are most proud of?
So I'll name two rather than one. I think the one product launch I'm very proud of is Technical Communication Suite. So this is a product that we launched while I was in Adobe. Adobe was very big in the two products that we were managing, one in the technical publishing space, so FrameMaker and RoboHelp. Significant presence in the market and very, very profitable product. But the big challenge was growth. So when we launched Technical Communication Suite, our objective was to offer something to the consumer, to the customer, that it sort of completes all the needs they have. And we sort of succeeded in it. And we were able to drive the growth from a declining revenue. We were able to grow about 30% in year one of launch. To my mind, that was really a challenging product launch for me, because we were trying to do everything from India. It was an international product being managed out of India.
Okay.
So that was the most interesting and the most challenging part. The second product I will mention was Shiksha Assistant. This is a chatbot we launched in 2019.
Okay.
So I was heading the data science for InfoEdge, and when I took over the business role in Shiksha, I asked my data science team, and I come over and look at Shiksha and tell me what you can do. And then they looked around, and we were trying to see if we can do a chatbot kind of interaction for students to ask questions which this chatbot can answer. But when we were discussing this with the technology team of Shiksha, and they sort of came back and said that we already have done it. So they had done a proof point or a POC demo, but which was sitting on shelf. So it was, we went live in 2 months, and then the product wasn't really finished. But my experience with AI data science was that you have to go and test the product with consumers and learn while you are in the market. So we actually went live partially for a small segment of customers, and slowly we kept improving, and we were able to get good traction. We got millions of students asking questions on Shiksha Assistant. So finally, and this now is live across Shiksha.
Okay. And how about engagement, sir?
Engagement has gone up substantially. So those people who work with Shiksha Assistant, who ask questions from Shiksha Assistant, they are almost like 2.5x more likely to stay with us. They spend more time with us. They engage much more.
And is it in English only, or?
So it serves English.
Okay.
So we learned this hard way. Initially, when we launched, we had only English, but a lot of students were asking questions in Hindi, mixed Hindi and English. Misspelling was another thing that we did not really build, and then we had to build something for misspellings. But it has been one of those very interesting, very exciting launch. Something which is really taken off in last few months. We'll cover maybe as we go. So there is a new launch version of Shiksha Assistant, which we are calling as Shiksha GPT.
Okay.
So that launch is right now in beta on the Shiksha app.
Okay. Sir, your leadership at Shiksha has resulted in a significant growth in both traffic and revenue. What strategies did you implement to achieve these results, and how did you maintain consistent growth?
So when I took over in 2018, I think one of the big challenges which I saw was that we were number 3 player in traffic. We have traversed a lot of journey. I guess we were at 13%, 14% traffic share at that point in time, and we are now 50% plus, which is we touch wood. It's been last few months have been very good. Let's hope we stay that way. I think the big what has really worked for us, and then I will say, is staying very focused on the consumer. A lot of work has gone in. Almost every single team has contributed on it. One of the biggest challenges has been when we have a student visit us, are we serving all the needs that the student has? And then team has really worked hard on understanding what is the expectations when they come to Shiksha. We have actually expanded our content manifold. Our teams have actually quadrupled in content, and we have also changed the way we do things. We've become more tools driven. We have actually used technology to become more efficient. We have built consumer facing tools. And now obviously we just talked about Shiksha Assistant. That's really one thing which has really helped us. And now we are focusing on getting more and more students to stay longer with us, spend more time. Can we give them a personalized experience? A student comes from West Bengal, or a student comes from Pune, or a student comes from Coimbatore. How do we serve them better? Because their needs are different, and their expectations are also very different. One of the things which has also helped us is we have a very strong technology team. Our product performance in terms of page load times, in terms of site holding together, handling millions of visits in a very short period of time. Shiksha gets lots of traffic in short bursts. So there will be a few hours where we will get millions of visits. And then the platform has to be ready and capable to handle that kind of volatility in traffic. So I'm sure this is something which our team has really worked hard on, and we are able to achieve a good experience even when the traffic is maxing out in a very, very short period of time. But our best investment has been in the data science and improving on personalization. And that's really still a journey. I don't think we are done yet, because there is still lots to do there.
Given your experience with online platform, what do you think are the most critical features for an online education platform to truly stand out in a competitive market, other than these traffic, maintaining the traffics and all?
I think the point which I always look at is that online platforms are fairly expensive. So you have to have scale. So that's one thing which is very, very important. So question which we have focused on is, if you don't really build scale, how do you amortize the cost of building a large platform, because you need that sufficient size to cover up all the investments you've done. But the first and foremost is, are we serving the need of the consumer? So let's say if I look at Shiksha, we started with the vision of being trip advisor for education. So when students come to us, they should be able to read reviews, they should get insights on colleges and courses, they should be able to decide which course to take, which college to go to, and we were an information platform which they would use for research purposes. Then we also obviously doing a lot of aggregation. So it's a lot of information on things which are available, but we aggregate them together. That becomes our core value proposition for the students to come and research on our platform. But it's been being core to our audience, which is very, very stay focused. Are we delivering what the promise we make to our audience? Do we have something which stands out, which is unique? Active community. We also built a platform where they can come and ask questions, and then we have an active community of students, participants who answer these questions. We have invested in webinars for student audience and things like that. But still, question is, what can we do more, right? And we are always looking for areas of opportunity. And I always think, as an online platform, you have to keep growing. You have to keep
innovating
for new areas where you can bring value. How do you stay relevant to a larger audience? And in an online platform, competition can come from anywhere. You can't really be complacent. You have to stay paranoid, and that's the only way you can keep success stay with you.
Sir, how did your experience in data science influence your role at Shiksha, especially in shaping the platform's user experience and engagement?
So this is one area where we have invested a lot. I think that's one area where I would say we make a difference to our audience when they come to us. So as I was sharing an example, if a student is coming from a different geography, whether it is a student from Calcutta or maybe from
Any part of India.
Any part of India. What is that we should show to them? How is it going to be different? How do we build that knowledge in our own system? One of the things that we have done is build in a team which can do a lot of work on recommendations. So that's the area of where we have done well, but I'm sure there is still a lot of work to do. When a student comes to us, can we recommend colleges which he will connect with? Now, how do we build this knowledge? There are like 35,000, 40,000 colleges which are in India at different fees level, and they are charging, they have different things to offer. So one area where we have obviously is to collect more and more information, and then data science is one area where you do well with more data. So it is something, when you grow large, you have more data. And because you have more data, you are able to do a better job of serving the need of the audience. So that way, it is really virtuous cycle. If you're able to serve the students better, and because more students come to you, you understand them better, and then you are able to serve them better, right? So one is recommendation algorithms, which is really something which has helped us. Second is what I mentioned earlier, Shiksha Assistant. Can we answer queries on the fly? Because in the end, students come for answer to their questions.
Right.
And then we have invested in building a large pool of questions and answers. Now we have almost like 8 lakh, 9 lakh questions which have been answered on Shiksha, which will be for host of colleges and host of courses. I'm sure there are gaps. There will be a lot of gaps here. But
because
maybe
it's in a learning stage, I guess.
Maybe we're still the best. We are not perfect. Maybe we are the best, but we are not perfect. Maybe there are still areas of improvement for us to build there.
Data science project fails frequently. From your experience, what are the key factors that contribute to a successful data science project, especially in education sector?
See, I think you rightly put, data science projects are not as predictable as maybe a software development project, right? If you're building something, you are more sure of a software development project succeeding in delivering what you planned and before you went live. Data science, I think the biggest challenge is the quality of data. So if is the volume of data sufficient? Is the quality of data sufficient? When I say quality in terms of noise, accuracy, whether the information which is present is actually the reflective of what the consumer intent was. Because a lot of platforms, when we collect data, users will fill in information which is not reflective of their choices, because they want to just in a hurry, they want to rush through, and this is one area where I believe one has to do a lot of iterations and a lot of work, which means you go live with maybe something which is not perfect, something which is good enough, and then you stay live for certain duration because you keep improving on the algorithm. But this is one challenge in data science. So there are simpler problems in data science also. So example, if you're doing scoring of customers, whom to call? When it's like if you have 100 customers, you have defined bandwidth of calling capacity. You say I can call only 40, 50 customers. Who should I call? Who are my profitable customers
High
to call,
intent,
or
high-
who are more likely to convert? Right? Now, data science does a very good job. A very simple algorithm can give you some boost, and you can keep improving with every iteration. Right? But then there are some projects where you need a lot of upfront investment. For example, let's say Shiksha Assistant or Shiksha GPT. You can't really start with something very basic or small, because first you have to solve the problem, and that itself is a difficult problem to solve. And one of the things which we have worked for a long is keep improving Shiksha Assistant year after year, right? And series of iterations go through that. And that's where I think the bigger challenge is you need someone who is willing to sponsor the team, because they will get a lot of brickbats when projects don't really do well, and when consumers are not happy with the outcomes, and the business also has a cost which it bears. But I think if you get an executive sponsor who says, I am there behind you and I'm supporting you, then you can succeed. But then the team has to also step up and deliver. So data science projects are more challenging in that sense, because you can never be sure whether it will succeed or not. But if you plan it well, and my thought process is, if the product and the business teams are working together, they are willing to make changes in the product. And sometimes you have to redefine the objective. Sometimes you go with very, very audacious goals and objective, and then you come back and say, I'm not able to achieve that goal, but I'm able to achieve something else. And then you redefine what the goal or the agenda is, and then you have maybe not the final goal or final outcome, but you have something intermediate, which is still adding significant business value. There is a mini success, not a roaring success in that sense.
So reflecting on your experience, what are the top 3 lessons you have learned while building and scaling these platforms?
I think probably I've mentioned this earlier in our conversation. Staying close to the customer, delivering on the value proposition which we promise. Unless until we deliver on that promise, we can't really hope to get them come in larger number. And then the question is, how do we stand out? What is unique to us? What is my right to win? Let's say, why should the student come to my platform and not go to another platform? If my value proposition can be copied easily, if someone else can come a few days later, a few months later, a few years later and disrupt me, all my investment goes waste. Now, question is, how do I build a sustainable advantage? And can I use my scale? Can I actually be ahead of the curve and stay ahead of the curve, right? Because if this is a problem that you're solving is important, I'm sure a lot of other people will figure out this is an important problem to solve. If it's an important problem for the customer, there will be someone who is willing to pay for it. So there is a business opportunity which exists. So there will be competition sooner or later, even if you are the number one player or the first one to enter the market. So it is important to have a sustainable advantage. And third, I would say is look for growth, because even if you have succeeded in solving one part of the problem, don't stay there. Expand the areas, look at the other nearby opportunities, because if you don't grow big, someone else will catch up, right? So you have to stay ahead of the game for you to win in with the online business, because there are few winners and a lot of players in any online space. There will be only a few people who will actually succeed and succeed big. So that's one challenge, which is saying anyone can come and compete. There are very few entry barriers per se. So it's all the execution, all the vision, all the effort, which can drive you towards success.
There's a barrier to scale, not a barrier to start this.
Yeah, see, one of the challenges beyond a point you can't really go if you don't deliver significant value to the consumer or the customer. Because if there are obviously a lot of players will come with big bags of money, and then obviously they will want to drive up marketing and acquire audiences, but if they don't deliver value, sooner or later they will not be able to retain them. So question is, are you delivering significant differentiating value vis-a-vis other players, which gives you a significant advantage over others? And you will stay because of your strengths and may not get disrupted because there is a lot more money which is chasing the consumers, which can happen in short spurts of time because you will have maybe a new player which comes in and he starts trying to get more audience, and then you're competing with a shorter, smaller audience, and that's where the challenges can come in.
Sir, how do you balance the need of innovation with the practical demand of the business?
It's a tricky one. Actually, if you see, we are in the innovation business. I mean, every online platform has to innovate to succeed. How do you get good ideas? So one of the things which has really worked for me is brainstorming sessions. People who are working on it, can we get them share ideas without the fear of being judged? Easier said than done. People always come back and say, what did you do with the ideas which I shared with you 6 months ago? But these are some of the recurring themes are important, which you say these ideas are coming back again. So they are really something worthy for you to consider. And then hackathons. Hackathons are actually you get to POCs and demos, and people are want to experiment and build. So those are two good sources of new ideas. But then the question is, which one will you deploy from a business point of view? And that's where the business value proposition becomes important. Question is, which of these ideas have significant impact, are solving the consumer problem by a significant amount, and then you start doing small experiments, maybe deploy it, some of these ideas for 5%, 10% of the audience, see if there is some value which is coming. Sometimes hypotheses go absolutely wrong. Maybe the idea was not executed well, maybe it was ahead of time, maybe it was not really launched right in some sense. And then you go iterate, or maybe you really say that this idea isn't not really worth it. Maybe we need a new team member to come and do it. But these are the iterative processes that you do. But I think I was mentioning that some of those ideas cannot be componentized. So there you need to do a little bit of work basis the conviction. Because let's say, for example, if I take the example of Shiksha GPT, it's like a year plus of investment in terms of time, effort, resources. But the fact was that we were doing already Shiksha Assistant, so which was already being consumed
data
by
and a lot of data.
million plus students, and we knew there were benefits. We were collecting feedback from students, right? For example, we were getting about 65%, 70% positive feedback from students. And then Shiksha GPT, when we have gone beta, we are actually now getting 90% positive feedback. And Shiksha Assistant, that 65% came after 2-3 years of work and after a lot of iterations. So that jump from 65% to 90% is obviously awesome.
Yeah.
But if you see from an investment point of view, when we made that investment, we obviously not really sure, and it was a bunched up quantum of investment. But then there was conviction that this is a disruptive technology, we should do something about it, we should explore and experiment. And this, so that was really something which sort of made us invest in it. And thankfully, team has really worked hard, and we are at a stage at least where we are at a beta level, and we probably will keep improving as we go forward. So something maybe we can take this 90% satisfaction rate to a little higher, because every percentage becomes much harder. So it's not 90% going to 91%. It's actually the 10% error coming to 9%. So every 1% change is actually a 10% improvement when it comes to reducing the error. So it will become harder as we go from here on. But I think that's what the journey we need to make.
So given your role at Shiksha, what do you think are the top 3 factors that students should consider when choosing a course or a university, especially in the context of increasing option of online and international education?
Yeah, I think one of the things which I'll want to bring out here is the choice of a course. A lot of students will choose a college and then say, I am getting this course, so I'll go for this course. They are not evaluating whether they are interested in, let's say, for example, chemical engineering, for maybe something else also. But a lot of students, let's say, they will want to join IITs, NITs and triple ITs because they're getting admits, but they're not getting the branch of their choice, but they will accept something which is available. And their typical argument is, I want to do an MBA, and it doesn't really matter which branch I take, and because anyway I'm going to do an MBA. Right? My submission to those students is always, you will be spending 3 to 4 years studying about a subject which on day one you know you're not going to work in how will you keep yourself motivated?
Right.
For those 3 years, you are knowingly working or learning an area which you are not going to work in. You know that it's not really something that you wouldn't work on. So maybe choose a different college which gives you the course of your choice. So please focus on your interest. I'm not saying don't join chemical engineering. Join chemical engineering, but you should be interested in it and you should feel confident that that's an area you want to spend your life in. Right? You may change it later, but at least when you are studying, you are interested in the subject, you're working hard on it. Otherwise, you're actually working hard on it because you want good grades before you get into an MBA, but your mind is not there. Because you know you're not going to work in the space. So one is obviously choice of a course. Second is location, right? Which is, are you sure where you want to study? Now, online, obviously, location doesn't matter because you can study anywhere. Third is budget. Now, this is one area where I do believe that people should do a little bit of stretch when it comes to
Education.
Their budget. And the reason I say this is that some people will end up compromising on brand, the college that they're choosing. Some of the students will end up compromising on learning opportunities or placement opportunities because the fees of one course is lower than another course. And to my mind, that's not really the optimal decision. Because education, when it comes to undergraduate degree or a master's degree, you are not going to do this again and again. Brand matters. Even a recruiter looks at your brand from where you're from, reality of life, even though we may disagree, agree. But that's really one important variable when it comes to the opportunities you will get is a function of where you have studied from. So if you can afford it, and again there is a if, because I'm sure there is a lot of students who will come back and say, I can't really afford this college. So if you can afford it, go for a college which offers a great brand, better placement, internship opportunities, and learning. So if there is learning outcomes are better, placement and internships are better, and the brand is better, pick those one. And maybe if you are okay compromising on fees, if you can afford it, go for it. And be flexible even when it comes to location. Now, again, a lot of students will make choices because it's close to my family. I have a relative who stays there. I can be a little more comfortable living in that city while I do this course. I do believe that people should do a little bit of move away from their comfort zones so they can actually get a better education, because this is investment for life and not a short duration investment.
So with the rise of online courses, what's your take on future of traditional college education versus online degree programs? Do you think online degree programs can compete with traditional ones?
This is one area we have done a lot of student research on. So this online education, as you know, picked up very well in COVID. I mean, even those who were doing offline courses were studying online. So there is a batch, like for example, who joined 2020 MBA batch, 2 years here, they graduated and probably did not meet their batch mates even once, except for maybe in graduation. So I think the online courses have, at least people have experienced it and they know that they can learn online. Even the faculty learned to teach online. Tools came in almost overnight, those tools came, people adapted it, and then so in a way acceptability of online courses has definitely gone. What we were very surprised, actually, we did a survey in 2021, we did a survey in 2023. We were expecting in 2023 survey that the online courses preference would have come down.
Right, after COVID.
Because we were post-COVID, there would be maybe preference shift should have happened towards offline. We did not see that shift, which is very surprising. So people still prefer online courses. But what we saw was a shift towards a stronger brand. So people want courses from a good brand.
I'm sure, sir. I mean,
so that is something which came out well.
Tier 2 city students are looking for a brands which are in tier 1 cities, and they can learn from their location only.
But I'm a great believer in all online courses. And personally, I'm convinced this is the best thing to happen for India from education point of view. But there is no way we can actually serve like millions of people across the country without going online. There is just no way we can serve them. And it's just that best teachers are not available everywhere. If you want to study from the best teacher, you can study online today. When if you want a course on valuation and you want the guru of the valuation, Professor Damodharan, who is I think very well known, there are lectures available on YouTube. So you can go and learn from them. And if you want, do a course from a university or from an institution which actually gives you a degree, and many of them are available today. And there is more flexibility in the new education policy. There is more academic credits you can do. You can take, and then in the end, just the availability of best teachers accessible everywhere in India.
Right.
Online courses have a great future, at least in my view. I'm personally convinced that's the right way to go forward. And we know, for example, if you see, go back in history, a lot of students used to do correspondence courses.
Yeah.
A lot of students will go to Indira Gandhi National
Open learning
Universities
yeah.
and open universities. And there you will get books which will come in a mail, and people will do self-study, or they will go and access a local teacher because they have to clear exams. Now you have an online medium, and we are probably access to better teachers. So there is obviously a very positive direction from a learning outcome point of view. So I see online courses in two dimensions. One is this is replacing the correspondence and distance courses. Second is the access to world's best teachers, which is the top end of the market, where the student is saying, I want to study from the best. And where is the second level where people want just a degree, people want to make sure that they have graduation against their name. And both these markets will coexist. One which is at the very top, where the student is saying, I want the best professor, I want the best teachers to study from. And then there is a set of students who will say, I want a degree and I can't get an admission in a full-time course because they won't let me in. And then there is obviously a minimum requirement of marks which UGC mandates. And there are a lot of students used to do correspondence courses. So that market will stay in online courses, which the transition from distance and correspondence to online should be very seamless in my view.
Last question, sir. What's next for Shiksha? How do you see Shiksha evolving in next 5 years? Apart from that GPT, what all next plans do you have?
So I think we have been building Shiksha as a research platform for information. For students to come compare colleges and courses. About 3 years, 4 years ago, we said this is not really enough. Student needs help, not just in learning about facts and opinions about a college and course. They need help in decision making. They need to figure out which college and course is the best for them. So we cannot limit ourselves to being an information or a research platform. We have to become a counseling platform. Now we do that in study abroad. We have a counseling team which works with students and helps them make choices and works with them over a longer period of time. We would want to do this in more productized way, more efficient way, because we serve a larger pool of students. We get 90 lakh students every year, and then the scale is just awesome. It's just like we can't really serve them with a human counselor. Now question is, can we productize this? Can we build tools which will help make student decide which college and course to go? The second focus area for us is to build on videos. So we are essentially saying the world is changing. Consumers don't want just textual information, they want more visual information. So that's one clear focus area here, where we are actually expanding a lot on videos. Third focus area for us is on the app. We believe that's an important area for us to invest in. We need to know a lot more about our audience, and if they stay with us on the app, we can serve them better. So that's one clear investment that we are making. And technology, as I've mentioned, that's one area which we'll continue to invest, be a differentiator. Something which, if we have to do things at scale, we need to invest in tools which will differentiate the experience for the student, personalize the experience for them, help us serve them better. In the end, we look at lots of students who are unhappy with their career choices. I would say maybe 60-70% of people are unhappy with their college and course choice. Once they become older and once they're in their careers, they always this regret. Maybe I could have done this college. Maybe I should have gone for this course. Somewhere, if we can reduce that, somewhere can we help students make informed decisions? Maybe they will find their own journey. They will find what they're looking for. That's the hope and vision. Let's see how much we can deliver on it.
Thank you. Thank you, Vivek, sir.
Thank you.